Hello and welcome to another Pittsburgh Steelers Depot live stream here on this Monday, March 10th, the first day of the legal tampering period, the unofficial start to free agency. The Pittsburgh Steelers have themselves a wide receiver in DK Metcalf. Who will throw DK Metcalf the football remains an open question as of 7 p.m. Eastern time. So big show today. You guys know we're talking everything that's happened in the last 24 hours. Team just reportedly signing Malik Harrison, formerly the Baltimore Ravens, the inside linebacker, to a 2-year, $10 million deal. Justin Fields going to the Jets. So much else to talk about today. I'll shut up here for a second. Dave, how you doing? Have we caught our breath yet? Hold on one second, Dave. I think we're getting an audio issue with your audio, which is strange. That hasn't happened before. Let me check it out here quickly. We have an audio issue on Dave's end. That is super, super strange. Give me 1 second, guys, and then we can hopefully figure this out about why that is. Dave, give me a test if you can, please. Says Dave is very quiet. So can you hear Dave, or can you not hear Dave at all? Because that's going to be a crucial difference between the two. Just let me know if you heard him there. It's extremely quiet. Yeah. Yeah, I have to figure out why that is, though, and I'm not 100% sure of the issue. It's like, yeah, so they're saying like it's coming through by headset. That is strange. Let me try something here real quick. Dave, can you give us a test, please? Okay, now I can't hear you. Give me 1 second here, Dave. Dave, you got me?
I've got you.
Chat, can you guys hear Dave now? Let's see if that works.
Check.
Anyone got Dave on that last check? You can hear him now? There he is. Okay, we are good to go. Not 100% fixed, but it'll do for the live stream today, so that works out just fine. So apologize for that. That's a weird issue, Gremlin, today, but getting past it, Dave, again, just kind of your reaction and continue with where you were leaving off.
You just didn't want me to partake in this, did you?
Somebody said your audio left in free agency, which made me laugh.
The chat ruled that they wanted you to sabotage me today. That must be what the problem was. Happy Monday, everybody. I'm trying to recap what I said there. Obviously busy start to the legal tampering period. Got out to shoot quickly with the Metcalf news yesterday, and a little quiet for the most part. We did get the announcement of the second round tender on Jaylen Warren, which kind of wondered if that would be coming soon, and got the news that Larry Ogunjobi's released, and kind of thought that might be coming down the pike. And then, right before we got on, like you said, the Steelers signing Malik Harrison to a 2-year deal. A little bit curious addition there. I think probably mostly special teams related, but can play off the ball linebacker there. And I do wonder, though, what this maybe does about the potential of Landon Roberts returning here. But at least we've got several things to talk about, and we yet to know who the quarterback's going to be on this team yet.
Yeah, pretty big question. Just real quick off the top, we appreciate already 140 people here in the chat, so it is an active crowd tonight. If you guys could like this stream, that'll bring more Steelers Nation into the chat for a really special, really important episode. Would appreciate that. Of course, subscribe to the channel and check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. We have full breakdowns on all the moves, all the players leaving, those returning, those being added, film room breakdowns, including one on DK Metcalf. Got a super chat here I do want to get to.
Real quick,
mhm.
we usually save the, thank yous towards the end of the show and all like that. But, we do these things every 2 weeks. We usually get a very nice turnout from the people in here. Listenership on the podcast has been great. Traffic on the site's been great. So, thank you to all of you in here. And, hopefully, we address your questions in a proper manner. And, we have good questions that come through this thing. So it's probably proper with the start of the new league year starting that we say thank you earlier in the show to everybody that's tuned in tonight instead of right at the very end there. Go ahead, Alex.
No, great point, and echo those thoughts entirely. First super chat, and again, a ton of questions tonight. We'll get to as many as possible. I'm sure we won't be able to get to them all, but if you want a guarantee of your question being asked and answered, you can send us a super chat, and we will get right on top of it. This first one, $5 from Z3 Music Official. For the love of God, I don't want Rodgers. I'd rather buy stock in a chain of Alec Baldwin daycare centers with a Britney Spears as CEO. So tell me how you really feel there, Z3 Music Official. Yeah, it's going to be polarizing will be the word for Aaron Rodgers. And while nothing's done, it certainly seems like Pittsburgh is down to Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson as their quarterback for 2025. And if Wilson, to me, Dave, was going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, he would have re-signed by now, because with Fields off the board, Wilson obviously, I think, wanted to return to Pittsburgh. They would have gotten that deal done. And so that, to me, leaves one man, and like him or not, it's Aaron Rodgers.
It sure feels like it's trending in that way, but until Russell Wilson's out of the picture, he's still in the picture to some degree. And I've learned over the look how wrong have people been about this this whole quarterback situation since the end of last year, and every day there's like five either major media people or local beat writers that try to get the lab. They each try to one up each other. I heard this, I heard that. And here we are now and then even, the Sam Darnold stuff got started kind of, late in this thing. And now here we are down to, two older veteran quarterbacks, in Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. And man, I just can't help but think back to what Mike Tomlin has said several times over the last, couple of years when asked about how important mobility of the quarterback is. And, he says a lot and all like that. Then now, it feels like you're right on the edge of signing the oldest quarterback in the NFL, right? In Aaron Rodgers, who certainly isn't mobile there. Now, look, Aaron Rodgers can still sling the football, no doubt in that. Very smart guy with what he sees as far as coverages and things like that. But you do have to wonder about the mobility and the sacks he takes, and playing behind yet another new offensive line for him. And obviously right now have the deep threats in George Pickens and DK Metcalf, and you hope the run game gets started here. But tying your horse to Aaron Rodgers for at least one season is, going into this offseason is not really something. I mean, I had it maybe on the outside of my bingo card, but not front and center on my bingo card.
That's for sure, and would leave Pittsburgh, presumably with many question marks at quarterback for next offseason in 2026, but we'll address that when those things become official. If they do, as you said, not set in stone just yet for Rodgers to come to Pittsburgh, but I would say he is the clear favorite right now. It appears to be really the Giants and the Steelers competing for Aaron Rodgers, and if you're Rodgers, unless the money is substantially different, and even then, how would you choose the Giants over Pittsburgh?
Money.
Right. But other than that, a chance to win, Tomlin, the connection, everything else points to Pittsburgh.
Man, do you think he wants to play on that MetLife turf anymore, too?
True. In that media market.
Right, in that media market. And yeah. Look, there won't be a dull moment as far as press conferences, and assuming he keeps the Pat McAfee show interview and all like that, we might as well lock up. We're going to have extra staff on Tuesdays because it's going to go from Mike Tomlin to Aaron Rodgers, right? And then Aaron Rodgers' weekly media session and all like that. And I mean, you're obviously talking about a guy not afraid to speak his mind, and there won't be dull moments if Aaron Rodgers especially from a media interview standpoint, if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of this team.
$5 super chat from Nick. Thank you, Nick. He says, Daniel Jones or Rodgers, who do you prefer considering potential renaissance, price tag, and age? You might answer asteroid, Dave. I might steal that one from you. I mean, if I had only those two options and those two options alone, I would choose Rodgers just because of my total distaste for Daniel Jones being anywhere near this roster. So him, but I was never in the boat or camp of wanting and pining for Rodgers to be this team's quarterback. But if you made me choose to answer the question, Nick, I would go Rodgers over Daniel Jones.
I would as well too if I can't choose the asteroid for sure. I mean, this is a guy that definitely knows the game, right? Been there, done that type of guy. You do worry about the mobility of him at this point in time of his career. I mean, he's not the same, Aaron Rodgers without, and that's a Captain Obvious statement for sure. But man, I've watched him. Now I will tell you this. Last year, for people to listen to the podcast, for all season, for most of the season, I thought, man, the Jets have got to be better than this. Mm-hmm. I had them making the playoffs and making a deep run, and obviously went out and got Devontae Adams, and why aren't they better than this? And then, as the season progressed and all like that, I mean, Aaron took a lot of shots. I mean, but he got up,
He started all 17 games.
Yeah, he got up, and I mean, he got I mean, I remember at least 6 or 7 times, whether it be through highlights or watching games live or whatnot, just watching him get creamed. And he got up, and obviously that stuff takes a toll. I mean, look, obviously whoever the quarterback is of this team, the onus is going to be on running the football. It's going to be on trying to keep teams to keep 2 safeties back with a lighter box, and passing situations, try to get the ball out as quick as possible. And Aaron Rodgers has a quick release generally, when he really wants to, and in other instances, though, he can, hold on to the football and try to let things develop there. But I mean, one for one, if you're asking me which one would I rather have with Aaron Rodgers or Daniel Jones, I'm choosing Aaron Rodgers. But it's just because he's a been there, done that guy, and he knows what he's looking at across the line of scrimmage.
And I would assume, should the Rodgers signing occur, this is Pittsburgh, yet again believing we can win now. We are going to go all in. You trade for DK Metcalf, which is a long-term play, but obviously a big-time immediate splash. And so if you can get Rodgers and keep Pickens and Metcalf and get this O-line to improve and draft a speedy running back that can create some plays, Pittsburgh wants, and I think feels compelled to try to maximize this window before the defense ages out, before Cam Hayward retires, before TJ Watt gets even older, before Minkah Fitzpatrick enters his 30s. And so partially Rodgers is probably because of these are the options that are left, losing out on Darnold and Fields and being left with Russ and Rodgers in a weak quarterback off season with few potential moves on the board. But this will be another indication that Pittsburgh believes they can win now, and they're going to make that push. All right, got a super chat here from our friend Double HH for $20. We appreciate that very much. He says, even though I'm across the Atlantic Ocean, I had to stay up to listen and write in. What is the Steelers' best plan? See if both Wilson and Rodgers fall through to Fields a competitive team. I mean, if they lose out on both, you're just running out of names at that point. Now you're in the Daniel Jones, Jameis Winston draft category. I think either way, drafting is obviously going to be on the table and potential for Pittsburgh. Really, with that 3rd round pick, they don't have that 2 anymore given away in the DK Metcalf trade. But I mean, if you're down to losing out on Wilson and Rodgers and Fields and Darnold in this market environment, you are in big time trouble.
Yes, you are. I mean, who would you be looking at that point? Is Mason's deal up?
Yeah, true.
Mason Rudolph, you probably look at something like that to hold the place for a little while. You mentioned Jameis Winston. Marcus Mariota, yuck. I mean, even Joshua Dobbs is signed now. and got a pretty nice little deal from the Patriots on top of it there. Who else is?
I think you hit it, Dave, with Rudolph and Mariota because of the connections to Arthur Smith and to Pittsburgh. That makes as much sense as anything.
Yeah, I mean, and then like you mentioned, along with we'll see what happens with Daniel Jones here, but.
Let me just say briefly, because this might be our last live stream until we know a quarterback situation when we reconvene in 2 weeks. Rodgers can still play. At his best, you still see flashes of Aaron Rodgers, but mobility, not even just from a run threat standpoint, but from an Arthur Smith get under center, roll out, the boot game that is so heavy and featured in Arthur Smith's offense. Can Rodgers execute that? That's questionable. His durability, he's played through pain last year, but man, you just worry, can he hold up over an entire season, another year older? And then, of course, on the other side, okay, what is this team's actual plan? Who is your quarterback for 2026? You probably go into that thing having no idea yet again, which is a recurring issue for this team. And you're starting from scratch, and big personalities and just a lot of problems and drama can come with that for a payoff that probably isn't top of the ceiling, does not make you Super Bowl contender with Aaron Rodgers. That's kind of my quick thoughts on that. But let's get back to the questions here. Again, appreciate you guys being here. Over 200 in the chat. Very, very much appreciate that. Be sure to like this stream. We'll be here till 8 p.m. unless news goes crazy and we have to break away, but hopefully that won't have to happen. I missed some questions at the top. The chat's not being erased, but Joey D'Annunzio says, what are the chances we draft our starting quarterback? To draft a starter, I think is pretty low given the weak pool and where Pittsburgh is picking, but I think drafting a quarterback in that third, fourth round range is certainly on the table.
Absolutely. I mean, you've already got the Louisville kid, Shuck, in for a pre-draft visit. I would imagine he's not going to be the only one in the door here between now and the draft. And I would think that this team in the middle rounds there would be looking to add a quarterback for sure.
This is from a fellow Alex. I'll let you start this one off, Dave. Any guesses on what a potential Aaron Rodgers contract would look like? A great question.
First and foremost, I would imagine that the Steelers are wanting to get done at least a 2-year deal with whoever this next quarterback is, because I don't think they want to go into the same situation or potentially in the same situation with no kind of quote unquote veteran under contract for the season. So that would be first and foremost. I would expect it to be a 2 or a 3-year deal. If you look at the average yearly value, what did Sam Darnold just get? 33.5 million. And I mean, you got. We'll see what's a new Geno Smith deal going to be? What was the scuttlebutt on that?
40 to 45, I believe.
I mean, you just had Justin Fields with a average yearly about 20. I mean, and Aaron Rodgers is coming off of a deal that's 37.5. I mean, I would think it's going to be somewhere between that 34 and $39 million number, I would think, as far as ADP goes, Alex. That's just what my gut tells me, especially when you got a guy like Sam Darnold getting, 33.5 once again, and Fields getting 20, and we'll see what Geno's deal is. I would like to think that Aaron Rodgers thinks his worth is more than Justin Fields, right? And potentially more than Baker, at 33.3. I don't think it would crack the 40 million number there. So I would guess maybe somewhere between, 34, 35 and 39 million ADP.
That seems reasonable, especially given if there's interest from the Giants, which there appears to be. It's not like Pittsburgh's the only dance partner. If there's some leverage you can utilize here and, kind of make sure that price tag stays high by, pitting the Giants and Steelers against each other, that keeps your price up. So that sounds reasonable to me. Got another super chat. We appreciate that from JB's Music Company. $5 says, what about Kirk Cousins? Is he off the table? Well, Atlanta would have you believe he's off the table. I don't think that's true. But I think the two quarterbacks I would prefer less than Aaron Rodgers are the two we've mentioned already, Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins. I think Cousins is totally cooked, even less mobility, more questions about just overall, physical tools, and Rodgers is the better quarterback, better pure passer overall. So, I mean, he'd be cheap, obviously. This would kind of be Russell Wilson 2.0 in a sense from a financial standpoint, assuming the Falcons release him. But I don't know. I just don't have the interest.
Well, here's the thing. If they were going to trade, they're going to get to a point where they're going to have to either trade him. Let's see, when is he's got a March 17th, 2026 roster bonus due. It becomes the 2026 roster bonus becomes guaranteed on March 17th. That's what the deal is with him. So they've got to get something done with him in the next 7 days overall. So if they were going to decide to take anything for him, it would probably get to the point where they would take like a 7th rounder just to get him, get something for him instead of cutting, right?
Sure.
And then at that point, you would inherit a contract that had $27.5 million base salary for 2025, and he's also under contract for 2026 and 2027. Now, I don't think he has any guaranteed money in either of those 2 years. So theoretically, if you were convinced that you could get one good, make a push with him and him be better more than a full year removed from the Achilles that he had, then maybe that's something that you entertain, because once again, you're getting a contract that has 2 years tacked on. You could still go in and draft a quarterback to play around with in the middle rounds, and you've got a guy that's got a lot of game experience on top of it. Is it ideal? No. But I mean, if you could get this guy for a seventh round pick and you were already past the, not being able to get Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, might this be the way that you go? Might this be someone asked about plan C or whatever. Mm-hmm. Might this be a plan C?
I just could not, under any circumstance, trade for Kirk Cousins. It would have to be a release, and the only real upside is you're not paying money. And the one thing Pittsburgh has done well to their credit in this post-Ben era is they have not committed a bunch of money to a quarterback and been stuck with a contract the way the Falcons are stuck with Kirk Cousins' contract, the way that, say, the Browns are stuck with Deshaun Watson's contract. So if you paid him the minimum, which you would be able to because the Falcons would be on the hook for the rest if he's released, then that at least makes sense financially. And of course, you would look probably to draft at that point as well. But I just could not trade for Kirk Cousins, even for a 7th round pick.
All right, well, let me back up there because I forgot the important point here. If you traded for that, then you have to guarantee that roster bonus, that 2026 roster bonus of $10 million. So you would have to demand, if you were to trade for him, even like a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick or something like that, you would have to demand that the Falcons ate that $10 million roster bonus for 2026, because you don't want to have guaranteed money tied to him beyond 2025.
Sure. So releasing a scenario in which he's cut is the only way that becomes possible, I think. And even then, my interest level is low. But the financial aspect would be the one upside, rather than paying Rodgers, as you said, a 2-year, call it $70 million deal, which is just a lot of money, obviously.
And if he does get cut, then you'd have to think that the Vikings might entertain bringing him back on a cheaper deal to bridge into their young kid.
Sure, there'd be some interest. I think the Browns make sense because they're in a tough spot financially, and they just traded for Kenny Pickett, obviously, but they're not going to be done with that, I'm sure. But, is this a world where Kenny Pickett's starting against Pittsburgh in 2025? It is very possible, Dave.
Yeah. Once again, if you look, I don't think they're going to go the route with Kirk Cousins. But if you got past, Rodgers and Russell Wilson and all like that, if you wouldn't want to have guaranteed money on his contract past 2025. You could deal with the $27.5 million base salary. What you would probably end up doing is, if you acquired that portion of it, is you would turn a bit of it into a signing bonus and prorate, to get his cap charge down a little bit, then expect to have a little bit of dead money if you had to move on from him next season there. So that's the only way I could think that something like that would happen with him.
Let's get to some more questions and comments. Mark Miller, I wonder if Omar's plan is to accumulate more picks for Naji and Wilson, then next year trade away early picks to move up for a quarterback, then try to use those comp picks to supplement the traded picks. I think the overall framework of that idea is fair and justified. I mean, because again, no matter who Pittsburgh signs a quarterback, there is no long-term future. There is no franchise quarterback. You've not found somebody that can compete in this deep bench of AFC studs. And drafting is still going to be the way to go, and drafting in the first round is still going to be the main path Pittsburgh will consider. Unlikely for 2025, given the weak draft class, but hopefully a possibility in 2026. And if there's one upside to a relatively disappointing, I guess, day one of unofficial free agency post-Metcalf trade, it is that Pittsburgh seems to be in position to potentially get a bunch of comp picks for next year after losing Justin Fields, after losing Dan Moore, Dante Jackson, although that might be canceled out by the Malik Harrison deal. I don't know if that's been weighed in on quite yet by Nick Corte. By losing, if they do, Russell Wilson, et cetera, Najee Harris. And so Pittsburgh could be stocking the shelves to have draft capital, to have flexibility in 2026.
Yeah, you're right there. Let's see. I don't think he's tallied up the Malik contract on as far as comp yet. But I mean, you're talking about that would probably that might come close to maybe canceling out the Dante Jackson,
which was tabbed as a 6th-round comp value?
Yeah, six round comp value with an APY of $6.5 million. So I guess it's all going to depend on where that cutoff is between maybe 6th and 7th round there. But there's a decent chance that it might eat that 6th round for Jackson,
as he goes to the Chargers. Chad says, Alex, thoughts on a Byron Murphy signing the top corner left? The cornerbacks really flew off the board today, Dave. Charvarius Ward, DJ Reed, Carlton Davis, my guy, Nate Hobbs, Jordan Lewis, they're all gone. Murphy's a top guy, going to cost like probably what Davis and Ward got, $20 million per year. Pittsburgh apparently close to or in agreement with Darius Slay, so unless that falls through, I'm going to assume that Slay's going to be their guy, and that's going to take them out of the running for somebody like Byron Murphy, but we'll have to see, because this Slay deal can't officially be done until Wednesday when he's released by the Eagles to make him that post-June 1st cut, and so nothing's done till it's done, but it sounds like the team's target is Darius Slay.
Right. And I think Joe Corey projected, for Byron Murphy, 4-year, $84 million deal. So I doubt you're going to go down that road there, especially if you're going to, if you're going to, if Slay is in your plans.
And yes, BA, just to clarify, nothing can be done with Rodgers officially until Wednesday as well. Really, no outside free agent is officially done until Wednesday, the new league year at 4 p.m. Eastern time, but the Jets will have to release Aaron Rodgers post-June 1st designation, and then he can sign. But he's allowed to talk to teams right now because the Jets have informed he is going to be released, and so there's no... Obviously, it's a tampering period, but he's under contract. But because he's been informed of his release, any team can talk to him as if he was a free agent. And so Pittsburgh can freely discuss, and obviously those conversations appear to be going on. All right, next question and comment as we try to get through as many as possible. We appreciate the 277 people here in the chat. So big shout out to you guys. See, what else do we have here? Any maybe DK Metcalf comments? It feels like an eternity ago that occurred. What else do we have here? Any other questions? Let's just also recognize the sad news to start today. We got a couple comments in here about Craig Wolfley, dead at 66, longtime Steelers offensive lineman in the 80s, the entire decade really, and longtime broadcaster since 2002. So just part of that great Steelers trio with him, the late Tonjokin, Bill Hillgrove, who's now retired from calling Steelers games. Just a voice that was recognizable. There's an NFL Network promo that has Wolf's voice on it, and I've been hearing that a bunch of times today, and just his fun way to explain the game but also educate really made him unique, and obviously will be dearly missed by so many.
Yeah, voice, definitely recognizable voice, and just always seemed like he enjoyed what he did, and most definitely. And I didn't even know he was sick Alex. I mean, this kind of apparently had a brief illness or something like that. I didn't even know he was sick or anything like that. And man, 66 is young, especially when I'm sitting here, the age that I am now. 60's not too far down the road for me. And you look at somebody 66 passing away. Just sad. I think the only positive thing is he's reunited with his buddy Tunch-Yokin. You know, those two really, really good friends, and Tunch-Yokin obviously taken way too soon as well. So definitely a loss. Going to miss hearing his voice.
Sure. Too much tragedy with Pittsburgh broadcasters, whether that's Stan Savran, Mike Lang, Craig Wolfley, and Tunch-Yokin. So, certainly just a sad day for Steelers Nation. All right, back to the questions here. Colin Finnegan asks, love you guys. Do you expect the team to draft a running back, sign a running back? What's the plan at running back? Jalen Warren officially tendered today at the second-round level, so that's the first shoe to drop. Dave, kudos to you. You called second-round tender at a second-round tender. That'll virtually guarantee Warren is going to stay in Pittsburgh for 2025. I still believe they will draft a running back given the strength of the class and the playmakers that can be found.
I'm with you. I think they are they might add another body. We'll see what happens with Cordell Patterson here pretty soon. They might not do anything with Cordell Patterson until they make sure nothing happens with Jalen Warren, just to be on the safe side, because it's not like he's taking up a lot of cap space talking about Cordell Patterson there. So, he might hang around just until, draft time, until they do draft another running back or something. And then maybe you jettison Cordell Patterson after the draft or something like that. But I fully expect right now this team to draft a running back. They might add like a veteran on a veteran benefit contract, minimum contract to add to that room right now. But nothing more than that. I am expecting them to draft a running back.
Dan Fry says, hey, fellas, love the podcast. Thank you, Dan. You may have covered this, but which of the remaining quarterbacks do you prefer? Kind of talked around it. If you're Pittsburgh right now, what do you do? There's no great option here. There never was a great option, no matter, even with Fields and Darnold available. They all had some pretty serious flaws and cons. But if it was me, unpopular as it is, I'm running it back with Russell Wilson. There is some continuity to build off of. He was able to play well in his best moments with the weapons, with a developing offensive line. I think he can still make it work, and I think Wilson is capable of playing past 2025 to give you something for next year to look at as well. So if it's me, I'm bringing Russ back.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm going to agree with you there is because of the relationship that he already has built with DK Metcalf, because he still showed that he can push the football down the field. And look, I mean, Aaron Rodgers can still throw the deep ball as well, too. And then also, at least you've got the continuity going, carrying over from last year and all like that. The main thing that would push it over the edge to me would only be because you've got him already working with DK Metcalf so much throughout the careers with each other in Seattle. And who knows, maybe you can get a guy like Tyler Lockett to come over or something like that. And that and the uptick a little bit of the mobility that obviously Russell Wilson gives you. Look, either one of those quarterbacks are going to get sacked 50 times, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Rodgers maybe a little bit less because of the snap to throw time, but yeah, both are going to have their issues in the pocket.
Now, I think who's the smarter quarterback, who's more apt to throw over the middle more? That would probably obviously be Aaron Rodgers. So you have that aspect of it. Who's pound for pound the better play action guy? It might be Rodgers by a hair in that. Does such a good job hiding the football and those kind of things. So, and obviously command of the offense, Russell Wilson obviously has that, but Aaron Rodgers has done it longer within there. It would be close, but I think the tipping point would be the fact that you got DK Metcalf in there, and those two have worked together before. And
some continuity, so Pittsburgh's not having this continued revolving door of new quarterbacks. If it is Rodgers, it's another week one starter different from the year before, which will have been the case since 2021. I mean, technically, Russ, if he returns, will be a different week one starter, but that's obviously because he was injured. He was on the roster in week one last year, even though he did not play against the Falcons due to the calf injury. I mean, Rodgers still has an arm, but an offense with Pickens and Metcalf on the outside is suited for Russell Wilson to throw a bunch of moonballs to. So schematically, it still fits and plays to Wilson's strengths.
Yeah. And look, whoever's going to be in there, you're still going to have to run the football effectively.
Sure. Yeah. Sure, for sure. Steelers by the lake, guessing Malik Harrison means no Landon Roberts. To me, that is my read of the situation, yes.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. Now, here's the thing, is it, you can still have 5 inside linebackers on this 53-man roster, but Patrick Queen's going to be one of them. Peyton Wilson's going to be one of them. You now know Malik's going to be one of those guys on the 53. Cole Holcomb's not guaranteed a roster spot, right?
Of course, no guarantees with Holcomb.
What about Mark Robinson?
Not guaranteed, but a proven special teamer who would be inside the bubble.
If I don't want to sit here and say unequivocally this means Landon Roberts isn't coming back, but I did not have an inside linebacker at 2 years, $10 million on the bingo card during free agency here. Now, Malik, it's got to be pointed out though that he can, while he can give you some defensive snaps, this guy's has averaged over 300 special team snaps over the course of the last 5 years. I didn't have time to look it up. Has there been anybody in the league that's averaged what he's averaged in special team snaps over the course of the last 5 years? That's a lot of damn special team snaps, man.
It's a great question, a good stat of the weird. We can look it up. We'll have to do it off broadcast, but you'd be hard-pressed to find many, if any, who have.
I mean, I had to look at that 5 times to make sure I was on the right page. I mean, over 1,500 snaps in the regular season the last 5 years. An average of well over 300. 300 a season there. So this guy's going to be on special teams. We agree on that, right?
Sure. Yes.
And you're not going to have Tyler. You're probably not going to have Tyler Matakevich back, right?
Agreed.
All right. Mark Robinson's not a guaranteed to have anything. Cole Holcomb's got a lot to prove, and Cole Holcomb's probably going to have to play on special teams if he makes this roster. What this does is it gives you even more leverage with Landon Roberts. Look, if you want to come in and have a 1 year deal at $2.5 million, you can take it. But other than that, we're not going to overpay you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the Roberts market looks like. I'm sure teams aren't beating down the door to sign him, but again, I asked the same question I asked whenever they redid that deal with Holcomb. Why would Landon Roberts want to come back in this scenario? What is the role? It seems like Harrison is going to replace Roberts' role as the base 3-4 inside linebacker. Peyton Wilson play nickel, Queen be every down. Harrison will play on special teams as well. They'll have that 3-man rotation that Pittsburgh has really liked the last 2 seasons, so that seems to be a 1-to-1 replacement on probably similar money as well. We projected Roberts 2 years, $8 million. Harrison reportedly 2 years, $10 million. That, to me, is a 1-to-1 replacement.
All right. Once again, if he's willing to take a lower cut, we'll see what the market is out there for a Landon Roberts for sure. But, I mean, if anything, this protects you if a Landon doesn't resign.
Sure.
But I don't think it's totally out of the picture. Sure, it probably does hurt his chances some, but I don't think it's totally out of the picture yet when it comes to Landon Roberts. I'm going to hold out hope. I'm going to give the people some hope here.
Brian Jonker, we lost Dan Moore to the Titans with Brojo over at left tackle. We're going to go through 3 quarterbacks this year. Dave, regardless of which veteran, elderly quarterback they sign, is there anyone more important to this offense than Broderick Jones and his development this year?
Other than make sure you got the right guy in Falatano on the other side, which you hope you do. This is an extremely important year for Broderick Jones for sure.
Yeah,
extremely important.
Agreed. And Dan Moore, 4 years, $82 million to the Titans.
Wow.
We knew he was going to get paid even more than I thought he was going to get paid. Somebody literally blocked me on Twitter because it said his value was going up, but it's a tackle-starved market. The tackle class in the draft is not very good. Would I have paid that if I'm Tennessee? No. But kudos to Dan Moore. Get the bag. 4th-round pick. Dude has worked so hard. Never complained. Beat out a pair of first-round tackles while mentoring Broderick Jones and Troy Falatanu. Cannot say enough of good things about Dan Moore. And he did improve over his career. And so I want to give him credit for that as well. So happy for Dan Moore. but that is a steep price tag for Tennessee to pay. Almost has a little Bud Dupree 2.0 kind of vibes down there in Nashville.
Yeah, would I have given him that kind of money? No, but I'm not going to. Look, nice guy, never caused a problem for the Steelers and all like that. And you'll never see me, really have an issue with guys getting paid. Good for them. You got to get it while you can in the NFL. But I certainly wouldn't have given him that contract.
Jared Mayak, just a comment I just want to read, and then we'll move on. But he says, thanks for the Q&A, fellas. No problem, Jared. Thank you for being here. Certainly no news to discuss tonight with the sarcasm there. Really hoping we don't sign Rodgers. We have enough potential drama and don't need that distraction. It's a fair point. You're gonna bring everything with Rodgers, the good, the bad, the storylines, the circus. Our life, Dave, will be devoted to nothing but listening to podcasts and interviews. If they sign Darius Slay and they sign Aaron Rodgers on top of all the podcasts right now, that is going to be our life for the next year and a half.
Man, you've been with me a long time, Alex. Grown up in this business. You've seen this thing really, really change, as have I. Everybody and their brothers it seems like it has a podcast now, and that's a quarter of our work every week is mining. We have a couple of guys that do nothing, but people don't realize this. We got a couple of guys that we pay that do nothing but go to all the network, the First Take, the Get Up, some of these podcasts, and do nothing but look for certain highlights to potentially write about and recap.
Yeah, it's a full-time job this day and age with the media cycle, so we'll see what happens there. But point taken, Jared. Steelers by the Lake had mentioned about Larry Ogunjobi. Should acknowledge that here before we end the live stream in a little bit. Ogunjobi officially released by the team, announced by the team today. Not a surprise. Maybe happened a little bit later than I thought it would, and I thought maybe if they waited this long, there'd be a D-line signing on the other side to replace Ogunjobi. That, to our knowledge, has not occurred yet, but Ogunjobi, before that roster bonus was due, was cut, and that is the right decision, Dave.
Absolutely, and I think that was my prediction for quite a while when it comes to him. Just is the guy worth $7 million? You want to, even though you don't have the pieces in place with the depth. I don't think you can justify just paying him $7 million just to have the extra body there. Especially he wasn't great against the run again last year, and this team says they want to get better against the run. And even as a pass rusher, he took a decline there. He's up in age. You kind of a guy that you kind of expect to miss maybe 2 or 3 games there. So I think this was the right decision here. I suspect maybe the reason they held on to him for a couple more days is maybe they'd see if anybody call about him, and maybe they could get, 6th or 7th round pick. But, that was probably just wishful thinking, and nobody wanted to take on that contract.
Just to butt in here, is there some Steelers news? Somebody said Naji to the Chargers. I'm not able to look here initially.
Ian Rappaport just passed along that the Chargers are pursuing Najee Harris and hope to close a deal. So sounds like maybe by midnight, maybe we'll be reporting Najee Harris signing with the Chargers.
And reportedly, he said goodbyes to teammates on Sunday. And we talked about the Chargers for a while now. And whenever they released recently, the Chargers did Gus Edwards. It really felt like Najee Harris would be their replacement. That is a great fit for Najee Harris, Dave, to go to Harbaugh, that physical team, of course, out west near his hometown. That is a great fit, and we'll see what the money is. That'll be the big question on Najee Harris. Got a super chat from Kenneth McNair Jr., $2. Thank you, Kenneth. He says, Justin Fields played 6 games but got $30 million guaranteed comp pick. Yes, comp pick will be coming for Justin Fields. And the price tag is reflective of a quarterback market where guys are getting $50, $60 million at the top end, where the cheapest starting quarterback last year that was a non-rookie was Geno Smith at $25 million per year. And now Geno's going to get probably $40 to $45 million per year. And so this is the world we live in. Quarterbacks get paid. And the market was poor, supply and demand, not many quarterback options, teams needing a quarterback. You got to pay for it.
Yeah, and he only had to start, 6 games last year to get it, too, right?
Yeah, it's a good job if you can get it for sure. LV, $5 super chat, says, it feels like we would be the 2013 Nets if we add Aaron Rodgers and D. Slay, I assume Darius Slay there. Lots of veteran Lots off veteran and no results. Who is throwing the ball this year? I really wanted Sam Darnold. The 2013 Nets. Was that the Harden, KD, Kyrie era? Is that long ago? I don't remember. Somebody with a better basketball IQ can fill me in on that. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of veteran names. Can you make it all work? And then what do you do after this year when those guys get even older is a fair question, but we'll see what happens and how all the pieces fit once the dust begins to settle later this week. All right, let's go to as many other questions as we can. I'll scroll back up. Over 300 here in the chat, so I'll put one last call out to like the stream. Certainly do appreciate that. Got all the coverage for everything that's going to happen over the next several days up free agency and beyond up on the site, SteelersDepot.com. Just trying to find back to where I was at before. Any thoughts on Joe Milton from the Patriots? Dave, got a couple questions about him with Dobbs signing in New England with a decent money that would make you think he's going to be on the roster in 2025. Any thoughts on maybe making a play for Joe Milton?
I mean, if you want to go after him and maybe make him your backup just to see what there's something to work with, I have no issue with that at all. You know,
I wonder what the compensation would be, though.
Yeah, I mean, look, you look at their starter and you look at what they paid Dobbs now, right? And it feels like they've given up on Milton at this point. So I would imagine you could wrestle him away for like a 6 or something.
I don't know if it's they've given up on him. They seemed really high on him last year, and he impressed in that finale. I think if you have a good quarterback,
you're not going to go out and pay Joshua Dobbs that kind of money if you're that overly impressed with Milton, right?
That's fair. I mean, it's a new regime, so I don't know what's a new head coach, at least new coaching staff. So maybe thoughts have changed, but I don't know. I mean, he's got a big arm. Everyone knows about Joe Milton's huge arm. What else does he really offer? It's a one-game thing. Obviously, it would just depend on what it would cost. I don't really have a lot of interest in that because what are the odds he becomes a long-term quarterback for you? And if he's not that, then really what are you angling for him to become, a backup for a year or two before he hits free agency? So
I think look, he's on a rookie contract, so it's not going to cost you anything really financially invested in him. And assuming you don't have to give up anything more than like a 7th or a 6th to get him, maybe you swap a 7th for a 6 or so. One of those crazy, kind of low swaps or whatnot like that. Is it the worst thing in the world? And at least you have a potential future backup for the next couple of years on your roster.
We barely know how good of a backup he is.
Sure, but I mean, and that's the whole thing. You get a good look at him through camp, good look at him through preseason. Obviously, hopefully you don't have to play him much during the season, but if you do, you'll get a little bit of a look at him that way, and see if you can maybe get him to whatever you believe his ceiling is. So I don't think it's the worst idea, especially with the team right now that's only got Skylar Thompson in their quarterback room.
Sure, I get that. I would just rather go sign a veteran for cheap and not give up the draft pick to do it. But point well taken. All right, next question comes from, got a couple questions. I'm just kind of lumping them together. This is from Sean Mays. Dave, you can start this one off. Do you guys think Kupp will get traded and or sign here? Thanks for what you do. What's the future of Cooper Kupp telling you?
Man, unless they can get somebody to take on that contract, and they're still in a position where they're gonna have to get somebody to eat, or they are in a position where another team's probably going to ask them to eat something as part of the trade. He is due a roster bonus on March 17th. It looks like of $7.5 million. He's already due a base of $12.5 million in 2025. Nobody wants to take on Cooper Kupp at $20 million, I think, and $5 million of that, $5 million is guaranteed, I think, was determined there. They're going to have a tough time unloading that, especially if they're not willing to eat any money. So I think once the new league year hits here on Wednesday, you're going to probably see him out the door, and then obviously he'll be a street free agent and able to negotiate with any team he wants to.
Agreed. There's no market for him, no trade market. He's going to get cut, and maybe that will open up some lanes for him. But for Pittsburgh, you have two receivers. Does the Arthur Smith offense support a third receiver, a slot guy? It does not, and so I just find that to be unlikely to land Kupp into Pittsburgh.
I mean, if you could get him on the cheap, obviously, but I mean, he's going to have some sort of market if he gets cut.
Yeah,
there's going to be 3, 4, 5 teams interested in him if he gets cut at the right price.
Jason Council, what do you guys think the team will do at D-line with Ogunjobi released and the team probably looking at a rookie in the first? Would they want to add another veteran in the room? Who do you think? Yeah, they could sign a veteran.
Javon Hargrave, baby!
Still banging that drum. Yeah, I think they'll add a veteran, but I think you're going to see the big swing, the big impact addition come, as you said, Jason, in the draft. And without a second-round pick right now, highly likely first round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with this, if it didn't become any clearer with trading away that second rounder for DK Metcalf, this team, and we already knew this team was going to be high on defensive linemen in a great defensive lineman class. And now that you don't have a second rounder, we'll see if they were able to recoup that anyway. I'm not really expecting them to, but they're going to go defensive line in the first round of the draft. And by bringing in somebody like Hargrave or what Jonathan Allen supposed to visit somebody today?
Minnesota.
Oh, okay, so I have to watch that. He's not all that great against the run, though. He's great. He still can get after it as a pass rusher. But do you really want Jonathan Allen as a run defender?
Plus, those guys are expensive. Now, Pittsburgh has some money. I don't want to be too price conscious, but you saw the market out there. Milton Williams getting $26 million per year. That's going to be the top of the market, but you draft somebody on a rookie contract in a deep D-line class, that makes a whole lot more sense to me than overpaying in free agency.
Now, once again, I'm not. Hargrave's got to come at the right price for me to be interested in him. I've told you that 3 or 4 times talking about it. So I'm if you depended on what the price tag is on him, I would be more than willing to take him back.
John Pennington, hate to say, fellas, but Tomlin got what was coming to him with Fields signing back. Now, do you guys think this became a trust issue between Tomlin and Fields? It's probably a topic for us to explore. I assume we'll do a podcast in the morning on Tuesday, Dave, but just in a kind of Cliff Notes summed up version, why do you think Fields chose the Jets over Pittsburgh? Obviously, we don't know what Pittsburgh offered contractually, but assume it was maybe in the ballpark.
Well, it depends on how much in the ballpark it was. Did he probably feel a little bit slighted the way things went down and think, man, I did enough in my time to start, and then I got sat down and I didn't really play. Yes, he was injured for a couple of games there, but even then, kept hearing about Justin Fields' package, this, that, and the other, and never saw too much of that moving forward there. I just don't think the Steelers valued him the way it probably wasn't very close between the two offers. They probably had one figure in mind. They probably set it out there, and they weren't going to budge on that. And the Jets dwarfed it, and the guaranteed money. I'd be interested to see if that $30 million is fully guaranteed. They'll put guaranteed in the tweet and all like that, and you find out later that it's injury guarantee or something like that. So I reserve judgment until I actually see the full details of the contract come across. But it could be multi-layered. It could be along the lines of some of those reports we've seen the last couple of or week or so saying, he not wanting to come back unless he's guaranteed to start and all like that. And maybe there was a little bit of a trust issue about what he'd be signing back up for.
Yeah, I mean, you get benched when you're 4-2, leading the AFC North, running the system and doing what the team asked you to do, which was to play smart, play cautious, don't turn the ball over, and Fields largely did that and improved, and then you get benched. You're not going to feel great about that, and so I think Pittsburgh would have offered a similar opportunity. I don't think Pittsburgh would have had intense competition for Fields. I don't think the Jets will with him up there in New York either, but there probably was some level of hard feelings and distrust, and reportedly Pittsburgh had a contract offer to Fields for the past week, and he did not respond to them, did not answer them, and that tells you all you need to know, along with him going off and signing with New York.
Do you think he's a starting quarterback in New York for 2 full seasons? I mean, you think he's guaranteed to be the starter to the next 2 seasons?
No, not for 2026. Who knows what'll happen there? He's going to start wire to wire in 2025 though.
Okay.
But anything beyond is anybody's guess. Let's get to a couple more questions here, and Mark Cunningham, and it was answered, but just to address it, for the comp picks for Pittsburgh, what they could receive for Dan Moore Jr. and possibly Najee Harris soon, etc. Yes, those would apply for the 2026 NFL draft. The one in Pittsburgh next year will be where those comp picks apply. And again, they can be canceled out depending on who Pittsburgh signs. Now, Aaron Rodgers would not count against Pittsburgh's comp formula. Darius Slay would not count against it. DK Metcalf does not count against it because those are cuts and those are trades. And so Pittsburgh, in some sense, could play some strategy in terms of adding people without hurting the comp formula.
Yeah, the thing to look at, and obviously we already talked about Malik Harris, and more than likely we'll have to see the specifics whether or not it officially cancels out Dante Jackson. But the thing that you're looking for is APYs, kind of in the same neighborhood of a couple of these others. At this point now, do you moving past the DK contract, and assuming that they're they either re-sign Russell Wilson or they sign Aaron Rodgers after they're cut, do you think another player is going to come in with an APY greater than that of Cameron Hayward that I talk about all the time there? And if they do, then that would probably cancel out a guy like who was the middle rounder there that they lost, not Dan Moore, but the one under that. I'm drawing a blank who they've already lost. Oh yeah, Fields.
Okay.
Is there a possibility that they sign somebody that ends up canceling out Fields?
There's always a possibility. I struggle to find who that would be. Some of those top corners are off the market, and if they're going to pursue Slay, that probably is your veteran addition there. Slot corners dried up. The market got hot. Jordan Lewis getting $10 million per year. Nate Hobbs getting $12 million per year. Mike Hilton probably not going to cost that much because of his age. I struggle to see any sort of splash. I mean, the big financial move, we'll see the quarterback deal, obviously, but that's not going to count against the comp formula. But the big move, and again, not counting against the comp formula, but the money is spent on DK Metcalf to become the highest paid non-quarterback in franchise history, at least until TJ Watt gets his extension later this year.
Right.
Some questions about George Pickens. Do you think they would trade George Pickens for a second rounder, try to recoup that 2 back? I think Pittsburgh wants to keep George Pickens. Now, if Pickens forces his way out, that's a different story, but I think the intent and the goal for Pittsburgh is for Pickens to be a Steeler in 2025.
As we said on last night's podcast and all, the only way you can really maybe start entertaining that become more of a legitimate question is if they go out and get another semi-significant wide receiver here. If they don't, then they're cutting off their nose to spite their face. Right. Because you need somebody that you can have complement DK Metcalf. Now, obviously, you're not going to replace George Pickens 1-for-1, but it would have to be a somewhat significant guy. And at this point, I mean, Darius Slayton's re-signed with the Giants. Godwin's back with the Buccaneers. Who else is all gone off the board wide receiver at this point? I suppose if Cooper Kupp became available and you added him into the room, that would probably be enough to maybe warrant you thinking about moving Pickens. But at this point, the only way I think you seriously get into talk about questioning whether or not George Pickens is traded is if there is a meaningful another meaningful ad in the wide receiver room. Tyler Lockett. Something like that. But other than that, once again, if you can't find a good, experienced complement to DK Metcalf, then you find yourself back, in a position that you are with a top wide receiver, no complement.
But what if Pickens says, "Trade me. I don't want to be here anymore"?
Oh yeah, that's a different can of worms, obviously.
So cross those bridges if and when we come to it, but that is a plausible scenario, and we'll just have to see how Pickens reacts to DK getting traded for and getting paid and maybe trying to take his jersey number 2. All right, get to a couple more questions. We'll try to go a little over 8 o'clock because we have such great turnout tonight. Kenneth, so he's saying, so we could get comp formula picks from both Russ and Fields technically. Yes, am I right on that, Dave? They would get comp picks for Russ and Fields?
Yeah, I mean, assuming Russ is going to, if he signs somewhere else, you got to think it's going to be for a contract, probably more than Fields, right, or thereabouts. So, you would get some compensatory value for that. It all depends, obviously, on the contract. Now, look, there is you don't expect Russell Wilson to stay unemployed until the week past the draft, right? Because the first Monday or Tuesday after the draft is when free agent signings no longer factor into the compensatory formula.
And just a quick note on Pickens from Muhammad, who says Pickens did say he wants to play for Rodgers. I think that the context for that was taken a little out of it because that was an interview that was old and it was kind of a dream teammate scenario. But sure, Pickens did show some appreciation for Rodgers. And if you're Pittsburgh, to go back to that, how do you sell Pickens on adding Metcalf? You tell George, you're not going to be doubled the way that you were last year. You're not going to be the focal point where you can't get open because you got a safety over you and you're being bracketed the entire time. Now, I think teams will play too high against Pickens and Metcalf if George stays, but you try to sell George by saying you're going to see a lot more single coverage, a lot better matchups than you did last year. You can thrive here and have a really good season going into your contract year.
Yeah, you can have some more big catches and really increase your value going into free agency. And this time next year, you could potentially threaten to be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, depending on the competition that you have in free agency.
Yeah, that's the sell. So that's probably what the team is saying right now. Mike Odessa, Alex, you getting higher on Marion Hampton? I haven't been able to get over you giving him a round 4 grade. Did I give him a round 4 grade? I think it was a round 3, but we're splitting hairs. But was happy to see you draft him in your mock in round 2. Still, he's probably going round 1. Yeah, for me, not that I'm going to be a prisoner of the moment to the combine, but Hampton was one of those guys I really wanted to see how he tested. I didn't get a great feel for how athletic he was on tape, and he was one of my first scouting reports. I was a little rusty doing that, but he tested well. He ran in the 4.4s, had a 9.93 RAS, and so checked some of those key boxes for me. And so Hampton, first round, still really pushing it, so I don't know how realistic it is with Pittsburgh no longer having a second round pick, but I am probably higher on Hampton now than I was when I wrote that report.
Right, he should be a top 50 pick, though, overall in the draft, though, right?
Yeah, and potentially a first rounder as well. Let's see, what else do we have here? Sean, no, they have not signed Mike Hilton. That's just one name you could mention, but to my knowledge, unless it's broken in the last hour, nothing on Hilton yet. Would Dalvin Tomlinson, who just got released by the Browns, be an option for the Steelers for nose tackle? I guess an option, but I don't know if it's one Pittsburgh will be exploring, at least with the idea of making him their new starting nose tackle.
Right.
Just going to kind of scroll through. Appreciate you guys. And we got a lot to get to once we get off of this. Dave, we're doing podcasts in the morning. Is that fair?
Probably. I guess. You tell me.
Yeah, probably do a podcast for the morning to react to day 1 of the tampering period. Just want to scroll through in case I missed any different type of a topic here. It's a lot of the same, obviously, with the same couple of topics today. Hey, Dave and Alex, do you guys think Kupp will get traded or sign here? Kind of already addressed that from Sean. Mike, is the assumption that Jones takes over left tackle as opposed to Fautanu? Yes, and that's from Omar Khan at the Combine, who basically said Jones would move over to left tackle to replace the now departed Dan Moore.
Yep.
Anything else? We talked about the comp picks from Jonathan, and I think it's a max. You can get a max of, 4 comp picks, I believe, is the maximum you can get in one season. I think he's asking about some comp pick details.
Oh, it's been a while since I looked at that. What is the max? Is it 4?
4. I think Nick Corte had said something about 4 being the max you can get in a single year. And Pittsburgh, they don't often get 1, and they could get multiple. But again, let's let the whole free agency process play out because it's comp pick value, not just comp pick period. All right, I think it's going to probably wrap things up. I know we probably missed some questions. A great turnout tonight on a busy, unofficial day 1 of free agency. Again, no deals can be made official. No trades can be made official until Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time when the 2025 season officially begins. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for bearing with me in those first 5 minutes to figure out our audio issues. And Dave, thank you for doing the same and appreciate your insight as always.
Yeah, I'll forgive you for trying to shut me out early there. I know you didn't want to do the show with me. No, I'm just kidding there. I appreciate you moderating this like you always do, Alex. You do a great job. The guys are doing a great job on the site. Thank you, everybody that tuned in tonight, and large crowd, just blown away by that. Great questions. Can't thank you peeps enough. So spread the word, and we'll see you on the site, see you on the podcast, and peace and love.
And just real quick, one last question from Tom, who's from England, a big, massive Steelers fan. He says, do you think they trade back to regain a second rounder? Can't rule things out, but I would call it unlikely at this point. But appreciate the question, Tom. Appreciate everyone who sent super chats and hung out with us and asked questions across the board. There'll be an archive version of this on Steelers Depot later tonight. I think we'll do the podcast tomorrow morning, recap things even more, and go from there. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.